To all the viewers out there and to all the audience that we have got with us on the YouTube channel, a very good evening from the State of Affairs podcast. This is the fourth debate on the gender equality and largely on the feminism itself and women empowerment specifically. We have been talking to different people. We have had some of the great people on the panels so far, barring today because we have not yet introduced the guests. They are special ones. Uh, Largely, we today will be talking about theoretical aspect of the feminism from an academician, and we'll also be talking about women empowerment from somebody who is working on the ground as a researcher. I have got with me two outstandingly talented people and outstandingly splendid and outstanding panelists with me today. I have got with me a faculty member from the Department of Political Science, Ms. Sakeena Hassan. I have been her student back in 2013. And I also got with me Anushka Saraswat. She is a researcher with the Vivekananda International Foundation. Both are vocal about women issues. Both do believe into the feminist discourse. Uh, Welcome to the podcast, both of you, Anushka and Sakeena, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure to actually talk on issues that are so important, like the feminist discourse that we have evolved over the time. We will be today talking precisely for half an hour about this thing. First of all, I will just rush down to Sakina ma'am to open it up for us and just put this thing into perspective. That what's the theoretical aspect of the feminism that we'll be talking about into the later parts of this podcast. Over to you, Sakina ma'am.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving me a chance to bring my point of view. Actually, why I have chosen the theoretical framework of feminism, because I have seen so many female, or feminists, those who claim to be feminists, they are feminists, but then they lack the theoretical understanding of what feminism is. Maybe they consider feminism as something that is totally anti-male. So that was in my mind. I have seen, and so many little young girls, they claim themselves to be the feminists. So maybe because of these things that I have chosen to talk about the theoretical aspect of feminism. Now, firstly, when we talk about the feminism as a political concept. So feminism is a political concept, and it was invention of 20th century. It was in 1960s. So in 1960s, it was used as a medical term like the masculinization of the females or the feminization of males. Fine. So feminism now in modern usage, if we see, it's considered as something that is women's movement or something that advance the social life of women. So feminists, they basically believe on two core things: that females are disadvantageous. Now, what make female disadvantageous? They believe that females are disadvantageous because of their sex. But at the same time, they believe the second thing, that this disadvantages can be overthrown. Fine. Now, we don't have one, what we can say, one, this perspective of feminism. We are having different schools of feminism, those who have their own opinions about the feminism or the female empowerment or the how female could be liberated. Like we're having the liberal feminists, we're having the socialist feminists, we're having the radical feminists, then you are having black feminists, post-colonial feminists, postmodern feminists, and nowadays. So that means that we are having so much offshoots of feminism. But initially, feminism, it was not considered something as an ideology in itself. It was considered something that was the outshoot of or offshoot of the liberalism or then the Marxism. So it was basically the radical feminists who brought the gender into the limelight, and because of them, that the feminism as an ideology was considered like as an ideology in itself. But having said about all these things, all the feminists, they have certain core ideas actually about which or core themes about which I want to discuss. All the feminists, like in all ideologies, we know, whether you talk about liberalism, liberal, like classical liberalism, modern liberalism, neoclassical liberalism, they have the core themes which all of them believe. Then they do differ in certain things, fine. So similarly, we have the feminists like liberal, Marxist, socialist, radical, and so on. But they believe on certain core themes, and that core themes that I want to discuss. So the first thing is what they believe on: public-private divide. Now, public-private divide, these are so like so core to the feminism. When we talk about public sphere, so in public, what comes public? You have the politics, you have the career, you have the work, you have the education, you have the art, you have the literature. Now, all these things traditionally and basically what they believe, they fall into the realm of men. Fine. You have the political parties, you have the pressure groups. All these things, they belong to men. So politics is basically something which is men's game. And now private, what comes in private? Private is your domestic work. Private is your home. Private is your child caring. Private is your like everything that is related within the four walls, within the sphere of your home. So that private, that belongs to women. Now, when we talk about the public-private divide, so these usually we have the traditionalists or the anti-feminists, they believe that it is the men who have to be in political life, who have to be in public life. So career, it belongs to men. Even if a female, she is not having a career. See, I have asked many friends that, why do you study? So they say that because we want to have a good match, like female friends, fine. So why good match? And after that, when they will have a good match, they don't have this thing in mind that marriage is not everything, it's not the end of the life. So they have their own life, they should live their life on their own terms. But we have been conditioned in such a way that the final goal of a female's life is marriage, fine. She, even if she is in education in the public sphere, the ultimate goal is to be in the private sphere, fine. So traditionally, it was that the art, literature, education, career, it all belongs to this men, and the home and domestic things, it all belongs to female. Now, radical feminists, they have the problem with this. I mean, all the feminists, but usually it was said that politics, it stops at the front door. Radical feminists, they claim personal is political. And I love this term. Seriously, personal is political. We usually say that how come personal is political? And always when we talk about political, we feel about political is just contesting elections, just to be the prime minister or to be the chief minister. For that matter, I want to say that it's not political. Wherever there is social life, that is political. Like the relationship between the husband and wife is political. There comes the power game. And in the relationship between the parents and children, that is political. Now, it's not always that you want to have like the power, like power we want to have. You want to be the head of the state. You want to have certain portfolios. That is political. Now, these radical feminists, they believe that personal is political. The personal is political is that it's not political, which is the public sphere or modern these feminists. They say that the relationship between the citizen and government, that is political, we understand. But at the same time, if we see the relationship between an employer and a worker, that is also political. So is the relationship between the husband and wife, that is political. So the concept, interaction, or the social life, wherever it comes, the concept of political comes in. So we have to understand this. So we cannot say that the political is just in the public sphere. Political just starts from home. I basically believe that everything starts from the home, from the family. The relationship between the husband and wife, the relationship between your sister and brother, that also is like, see, I have seen a 10-year brother, he just tries to order the 20 years old sister, that you have to dress in a particular way, you have to come out at a particular time. Last time I saw a post somewhere. So she was saying that I want to pursue some degree outside the state, but my younger brother is not allowing me. So for God's sake, who has given him so much of power to decide the public and the private? So the first thing is public private divide. So what was it initially? That the public that falls into the sphere of men, and the private that falls into the sphere of women. And this, that is the child rearing, child bearing, all that things, it comes into the female. So female, she has to be within the four walls. Fine. Now, what I am seeing, that the radical feminists, they believe that personal is political, and they say that there is the politics of everyday life. Politics of everyday life, that is in domestic work, that is that the female should have the control over their bodies. Female should decide at what she want to do, or she want to have a child, or she don't want to have a child. Fine. So this is the public personal divide, where the radical feminists, they go against that. They think that the politics, it stops at the front door. So there is nothing like politics stops at the front door. Basically, wherever two persons are in a relationship, the politics comes in. Fine. It's not always that we consider politics as a dirty game. Now, if I go to the Plato, he says that politics is an art and everybody cannot be an artist. Fine. So I don't want to indulge into other things here, talking or deviate my topic. So here talking about these personal is political. So the relationship between the husband and wife is also political. We have to consider it in mind, because we have seen that the female, she cannot say that if her husband says anything, and she cannot say no to him. And if she says that, she's not considered a good wife. And always it is like it should be the husband domination. Fine. And then equality should not be there. If you are listening to the female, if you are listening to your wife, that means that you are society will see you from different prisms, from different lenses. So this is what all the feminists believe, that the public private divide is nothing. It's just to suppress female more. Fine. The second thing what they believe on is the patriarchy. Now, patriarchy, all the feminists, they use this word time and again, all the time, that patriarchy, patriarchy. Fine. Basically, all feminists, they believe that gender is a significant cleavage. Like there is the class, there is the religion, or there is race. Fine. So gender is similarly a social cleavage, like that of other cleavages you're having in the society. So feminists, they believe that there is male supremacy or male domination in the society. Now, what patriarchy means? Patriarchy actually comes from the word patriarch, which means rule by father. Again, being a feminist and a feminist, they don't have problem with ruling, like father ruling the family. The thing is that what comes out of that is problematic. मतलब बाप तो है ही घर का, हम लोग बोलेंगे, मैं भी बोल रही हूँ, and again this is something which is conditioned. बाप तो है ही घर का ये head. Why बाप होना चाहिए always घर का head? क्यों होना चाहिए? माँ भी तो हो सकती है. अच्छा, अब जहां पे माँ घर की हेड होती है, दैट इज कंसिडर्ड वहां पे औरतों का राज है. Fine. If you might be having the examples, we have the examples. We say that sarpanch pati. What's that sarpanch pati? Contest तो इलेक्शन करती है बीवी, और चलाता है उसका जो पोर्टफोलियो, वो सारी चीजें है, वो चलाता है पति. क्यों? क्योंकि उसको लगता है जो उसकी पत्नी है उसमें उतना दिमाग नहीं है कि ये अच्छे से ये चला सके. So what actually patriarch means? Rule by father. Now, father, there is no problem that there is a rule by father. What feminists take this patriarchy, they explain it in a specific or in a limited sense, and in a broader sense also. When we talk about the specific and limited sense, then it is that there is male domination, or there is husband and father domination in the family. When we talk about in a broader sense, then it is that there is male supremacy or male domination in the society. Now, patriarchy, actually, it is problematic. How it is problematic? That this male supremacy or male domination, it exists in all walks of life. When we start with the thing that there should be the rule by the father, that in the family, so it makes your mother an oppressor or a subordinate to the father. So the problem is, it's not just the mother, it's the female who is becoming an oppressor. तो ये फीमेल, अब मैं ये नहीं बोलती हूँ कि हमारा जो फादर है, he's always in with the hunter in his hand. So this is not the thing कि आपको मार पड़ेगी, फिजिकल आपका वायलेंस होगा तो वो आपको that is the violence. See, the most painful is this torture is the torture, mental torture. You know, male domination, it becomes sometimes very difficult to make people understand that how patriarchy sucks, that how patriarchy becomes harmful, or how it has a toll on the mind of a female. Fine, you have a brother, you are a sister, and then you're having a different constitution for your brother. Your brother can come home anytime he likes. Fine, whether it's a night, he can leave. Or see, sometimes I talk to my friends that I want those freedoms which you enjoy being a man. Fine, those freedom, like if you are not in a mood to stay at home, you have off mood, you can go out, you can enjoy, fine, go with your friends. But being a girl, you do not have such liberties. आपका मूड खराब हो, आपका कुछ भी हो, आपको घर में ही रहना है, ठीक। अब मैं ये नहीं बोल रही हूँ घर में रहना प्रॉब्लमैटिक है, अगेन प्लीज ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. आई एम सेइंग दैट यू हैव different constitution in your families for a male boy and different constitution for a female boy. ऐसा क्यों है कि बर्तन औरत को ही धोने हैं? ऐसा क्यों है अगर आपकी माँ कितनी भी बीमार है, कल को उसको उठना ही है और आपके लिए ब्रेकफास्ट खाना बनाना ही है? आप ऐसा क्यों है कि जो आपके डिशेस है, घर का सारा काम है, मॉपिंग, ब्रूमिंग, दैट शुड बी डन बाय अ फीमेल ओनली? व्हाई? हु हैज said it? किसने ऐसा किया है? किसने ऐसा कहा है? Is it just because she is born as a female and she has to do all such things? अच्छा, ऐसा ये है कि अगर मेल कभी ऐसा करता है, आपका भाई कभी ऐसा करता है, and there are all praises in all the family for him, क्योंकि इसने एक बार बर्तन धोए, ठीक है? तो वो क्यों ऐसा है? जबकि एक बार ही, हजार बारी, हर बारी आपकी बेटी करती है, there is no praise for her. So why there is gender parity? Why there should not be the gender disparity? You understand? So the thing is that we have right from the family, and I agree with the radical feminists for the thing that, again, I'm saying that personal is political. Here, I'm talking about a brother and a sister. You have a different constitution for a brother. He can wake up anytime. He can do anything. He can come home anytime. He has liberty. And then the character and the dignity of the family, it's also associated with a female. Why don't the character of male is a male characterless? तो क्या मेल जो है उसकी इज्जत नहीं होती है? वो इज्जत नहीं उतार सकता है फैमिली का? फैमिली की इज्जत, खानदान की इज्जत, ये सारे लेबल्स चिपका दो फीमेल के ऊपर. क्यों? तो मेल भी तो एक ऐसा ही है. Why don't you consider female as a human being as equal to that of a male? Character is equally, dignity is equally related to male as that is equal, related to female. So the thing is that it's all the patriarchy, rooted in patriarchy. Again, we were talking before this, that I said that we do not have male-only patriarchs. We have the females, those who are patriarchs. Now, we cannot call them matriarchs because the power structure is such that they have the power and they want to suppress other females, right? Because they got the power. So the thing is that the patriarchy, that is the male, and the radical feminists, they also believe that the male domination, male supremacy, that starts from the family. Whatever, family is the basic unit of a state or everything. You say the world, you say the universe, everything. That's the basic unit. And if we have to bring the change, we have to start from the family. Like we say that charity begins at home. how much we need to change the mindset of people. God, I have seen so many educated people. Always I have been in conversation with them, and when they talk about the female rights, like as if they are so much superior. What makes you superior, firstly? Like, I'm coming to the sex and gender also, because that's also the core theme of this feminism, and all feminists believe on such thing. Like, a genetical part you believe that makes somebody more superior than the other. Everybody is like female or male, they are born as a human being, and then this patriarchy, the male domination, is giving you the power to suppress, to subjugate more than half of the population. Or you can see that in home, in our family, we're having more females than the males, and then you cannot say no what male says, because उसके पास अकल है, ठीक है, वो अकलमंद होता है, और फीमेल उस वो हमेशा बेवकूफी होती है, शी नीड टू बी क्वाइट, अगर बात करेगी तो वो हो गई है, हाथ से निकल गई है, फाइन. Even if educated females, you cannot make them that this is patriarchy, this is something which is not natural, which is cultural. You talk about it, they won't talk about it. So what I am saying, that the patriarchy that is ruled by men, and that rule by men which starts from the family, and that ultimately becomes visible everywhere, in our educational institutions, in our professions, in our daily, everywhere we can see that patriarchy that is in power. So basically patriarchy, it is in structure. Fine. Now patriarchy, the different these school of thought in feminism, they have their own view of or version of patriarchy. Like liberals, when they talk about the patriarchy, they say that there is unequal legal and political rights because of the male domination that's given to the female. Or they talk about the underrepresentation of the female in career, in education, in business, and so on. And socialists, they talk about the patriarchy in terms of capitalism. They say patriarchy is in tandem to capitalism, and that ultimately leads to the unequal distribution of wealth. Now, talking about wealth, how much wealth does female acquire? Property की बात कर लीजिए आप. You talk about like a female, even if as a Muslim we say Sharia, that gives me a right that I should have inheritance वगैरह, ये सारी बात करते हैं. लेकिन जब हम reality में, if we talk about reality, so how many women get it? Now you are having, once I was somewhere, like I went to a picnic spot. There was a female, she was making rotis. Okay, I killed her pig and I uploaded it. तो मैंने ये बताया कि like see, she's working right equally with men, but then she won't be having any share in whatever they earn. I have seen, if again there becomes a debate, urban social, urban rural divide. I do not want to get into that. You go anywhere, whether you talk about a female, she is a housemaker working 24/7 in at home. You are having working women. You are having women in rural areas. They do their household chores. After that, they work their men counterparts equally in the farms. Fine. And is their labor calculated anywhere? Do they have any share? And if they have to ask money, they have to ask it for, or any kind of help from their male counterpart. And see, we have the things in mind. If there is a female driver, she's always considered a bad driver. She don't have the logic. अच्छा, ऐसा है कि फीमेल चला रही है गाड़ी, फीमेल को give her exposure like that of a man, she will be equally emancipated, or whatever you empowered, you say, like that of female. Men, I believe on these things. हाँ, female को नहीं आती है चलानी गाड़ी, उसको क्रॉस भी नहीं करना आता है सड़क पे, लेकिन उसको वैसी वाली कंडीशंस तो दे दो, वैसे वाले अपॉर्चुनिटीज तो दे दो जैसे आप अपने एक मेल काउंटर पार्ट को दे रहे हो. तो इतना क्या है, क्योंकि वो फीमेल पैदा हो गई है, और आप उसको, like everybody comes to console you if you have a female child. बिचारी, ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं है, नेक्स्ट टाइम बेटा जरूर होगा, अल्लाह पे भरोसा रखो, भगवान पे भरोसा रखो, all such things. So why so? I don't understand such thing. Fine. See, I will give you my example. I think that I should not quote it. Now, 7 months before, I gave birth to a baby girl, mashallah. Fine. Now, after that, we have month after month, we have 3 more relatives, including my brother, immediate cousins, fine. They all have baby boys. And I am the only one who is having, bichari, baby girl. But in my family, there is nothing like that. I cannot understand that how people can say that a female is bichari, poor. Well, how come that makes her, because she's born as a female, that makes her bichari? So this is all patriarchy, what I mean to say. So radical feminists, they see this patriarchy institutionalized, systematic, and all pervasive in the family. So what they say that it's structured in power. Fine. Okay, now coming to the next point, what I want to talk about, sex and gender. Now, sex and gender, it's usually something which we consider one and the same thing. Traditionally, or anti these feminists, they consider that female's physique is such. Usually it comes into the limelight. Female's physique is such that she's meant to be such things. Okay, to do such things. So female's physique is such, is anatomical appearance is such that she is fitted for the domestic this chores. She is fit for domestic things. And it is, they believe, in short, if I say that biology is destiny. Now, you're born as a male, that makes you superior. I'm born as a female, so I am a poor bichari. So biology is destiny. Fine. So they consider that the child bearing is something that makes like female, these are certain things which are related to female, and childbearing, child caring, motherhood, nurturing the child, that is related to female. Now, I believe totally all the females, they believe that childbearing is something which is unique to female. Menstruation is something which is unique to female. Fine. And that does not make female in any way disadvantageous. Why should these things make female disadvantageous? I believe that that makes us then superior. If I am in a position to bear a child in my womb and I am giving life to somebody, that makes me superior. How come that makes me inferior? Fine. Now, childbearing is something, again, we are making childbearing, linking childbearing and child rearing. Now, childbearing is natural, child rearing is cultural or social. Maybe I want to give a birth to a child, but I do not want to rear or brought him up. So this is something where like not natural. So what it, sex and gender, it makes that child rearing and childbearing, they are linked, they're not linked. Yes, I can bear a child, but it's my choice if I want to bear him or not. No, motherhood is also something that comes into. There are so many females whom I'm having the personal experience. They do not want to take the responsibility of their child. So this is also the child rearing is not something that is like related to the female only. Now, again, I'm having the problem with the terms like parenting. Kahan hai parenting? Like the first 6 months, they are the very crucial months for upbringing of a child. That's very toughest part. Again, and even if you're having a very cooperative husband and you do not live in a nuclear family, not outside your state. If you're living outside your state, then you have a symmetry type of family. He will work, he will take care. And if you're at your mother's place, at your mother's home, then society is such, your husband cannot come again and again. Then he has to listen from the society that he is not a good, what we can say, not a man having the manly character. So the thing is that our society, patriarchy is harmful for, again, I'm coming to sex and gender, it's harmful for male also. It's equally harming the men. Maybe a man is not understanding it. Now we have the new breed of men, those who are the feminists, those who try to understand. Please give me 1 minute. I have to plug it. It's saying battery is low.
So, I guess this was quite a very interesting understanding and explanation of academic feminism. We live in a third world country. I mean, most of the things that we have also to face as a society are there. It's always asymmetrical. The development and the equality kind of concept, but down the line, there are certain green shots that we can say about the entire feminist discourse, because normally we will always choose the path of women empowerment in a very dynamic, in a very gradual, in a very government backed enterprise. We have with us Anushka, who can just guide us through this thing, that what are the achievements or what are the things that India as a country has achieved over the horizon of the global at the global level, where we can say that yes, this is a glimmer of hope. Things are moving into a very good direction, or at least, if not into its totality, we are going to emancipate the entire women folk from the gender domination or gender disparity. We have Anushka who will deal with this and put this thing into perspective, that what when it comes to India and the self-development goals, we can at least come. I'll come back to Sakeena ma'am for this thing, that gender and sex understanding at the academic level. But first, Anushka, you can unmute and guide us through.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for inviting me and for the question. So, when it comes to women empowerment, especially in 21st century and talking from a third world country, which happens to be a rising power in Asia itself and now is playing a significant role on the global stage too, India. So I feel that maybe the theory that we have borrowed, which is on feminism, at times it feels that it is not compatible with our society in a third world. We talk about feminism and we highlight that these are the struggles that we are facing as women, and even men are facing the consequences of patriarchal society, which is very systematic and which has a hierarchy based on gender power, as was explained by professor. So what I want to highlight in this regard is that we as a country, especially if you talk about countries, big powers like China and now India, we are based in civilization. Our civilization gives us the direction also to pursue women empowerment and gender equality. Now, when I coined the term civilizational societies, or maybe a democracy like India that comes out of civilizational ethos, that is very often reflected in our diplomacy, in our interaction with the world. We always emphasize on our civilizational ethos. Now, why civilizational ethos are important for women empowerment in the 21st century, especially after facing challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic, because of which if you would go back and check the reports of maybe the World Economic Forum, you would find out that the gender equality, the progress that we have achieved in last 100 years in South Asia has drastically gone back because of COVID-19 pandemic. Because of COVID-19 pandemic, the women were pushed inside. They were pushed to quit their jobs. They had additional burden. Like we are talking here in a virtual world, because of working from home, that has also brought additional challenges for women. They have to look for their family, they have to also rear their child, they have to also do their job. And because of the new normal of the COVID-19, you will see that um, there is a lack of differentiation between the different aspects of life for a woman. Now, coming back to India, coming back to our country, so I would say that when we want to project ourselves as a rising power, as a stakeholder in the global system, we need to depend on our women as well. We need to ensure that they have equal participation in the workforce as men. We uh, we have lot of challenges in front of us, because of which we we kind of are facing difficulties in realizing the goals, but we are working on it. Now, how we are working on it is through different policies that we are implementing. So let's say if I talk about the new education policy has schemes that support women, especially from the marginalized communities, to pursue higher education. They also support women if they are differently abled. They also support women if they have linguistic barriers in terms of going for education. So when we talk about feminism and also about women empowerment, I think it's not just about the challenges that women or girls face because of their gender. It is also because of different challenges that you would see in rural parts of India, or maybe in the urban parts of India, and these problems are maybe very different from each other. So I would tell you that I went to a village near my area, which was in Uttar Pradesh. Now there was only one school in the entire village, and the infrastructure around the village needs so much of work to actually facilitate girls to go to school. Now there are states in India, like let's say if I talk about Bihar's chief minister actually introduced a scheme which was introducing bicycles for girl child. So bicycle, in villages, if you would go, the roads are so non-existent that the only way to go outside of that area to your school is literally walking. But then again, if it because of the weather conditions, you will face additional challenges when you go to schools. So something introducing like bicycles, which would actually help a girl to go to school. It is as simple as that. But then it is only one challenge. Now this challenge highlights the fact that we have issue of infrastructure. We have issue of roads, that to ensure that our girls and our women are going to schools and offices, especially in rural parts of India, we need to focus on the infrastructure and on connectivity, and which is one of the focus of the Indian government right now, which is definitely an engine for the development too. And when we talk about school itself, then you would see that many women and many girls drop out from their work or from their education because there is not a proper infrastructure and education related to how they are going to manage their menstrual cycle, or how they are going to continue their studies once they hit the menstrual age. So there is a need to develop an infrastructure within the schools that basically helps women and girls to navigate through the challenges that are naturally with us being as women. And when we focus on India, when we talk about India as a country, these are small steps that are required to take us to that stage where we can proudly say that our women are equally participating in the maybe foreign policy or national security or education, science and technology in our country. But the fact is that there are challenges on different levels of the different sectors in India. Urban women have different challenges, and women in rural India have different challenges. And at times, when we talk about theory sometimes is not really compatible with the ground reality. So there is a need to have engagement between academicians and between people who are working on the ground, or maybe people who are devising the policies, because only then we will be able to utilize the proper solutions that that academia and theory provides us, and that are provided to us by those who are working on the field and those who know that what are the challenges that we are facing in implementing the vision that academia or theory of feminism gives us in different aspects. And so I would just say that I feel we as a country are doing great when it comes to women empowerment, but we certainly have challenges, and these challenges have been amplified because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
That's very
Yeah.
interesting analysis of pointing out some of the biggest challenge, I'll say, and some of the theoretical problems with the discourse of feminism. A is that there is a gap. I mean, the people in the rural areas do have different problems, and the people who are urban based, they do have different, enabling environment, that we can say. Feminism does lack this thing, is that a realistic touch, at least, or a kind of putting things into a realistic perspective. Because, see, at the end of the day, we are living in a country, or we're part of the region where we do have institutional challenge, where we do have policy challenge, where we do have social challenge, but in a piecemeal engineering kind of a situation where we can gradually have it. Because even if you will look at the West, you will see that feminism is not something that has parachuted overnight. It has not come like that. It has been a gradual process in the first, second, third waves, and then the change that were made at the institutional level, or we can say the policies that were meant to actually guide the societies through this gender equality paradigm. We have our own challenge when we say, see, a person in a very remote or rural area has nothing to bother about the feminist discourse because of the understanding and because of the problems he has other than this equality problem as a person or as an individual. So down the line, there is a gap between theoretical and the practical side of things. That's why I actually roped you in on this. Anushka will delve on this again after this question to Sakeena ma'am. She has dealt with the first thing, that the public-private divide in academic feminism that we have seen, and the second thing was the patriarchy and the concept, that how gender is so structural in our society, and the third thing was the sexual sex and the gender that she is yet to actually elaborate. Sakina ma'am, I would like you to precisely see that as a person who is in the faculty of political science in a University of Kashmir, there are problems that you have at least come across while pursuing education, while delivering lectures, and now the point that you are at, and the stage of your life you are at. You just guide us through this thing, that what are the institutional challenge, say for example in your own department, or in your larger social networking, that girls do face. Speaking from the practical lens, not only the theoretical perspective. Kindly do make us understand about that.
See, while I was, Miraj, talking about the theoretical perspective, I was giving the examples from the practical life. So this was also the thing that I was giving the personal life experiences, examples from that also. Even though I never faced discrimination at home, we I never had a different constitution for my brother and for me. Even I am so much blessed that my parents, they used to give me more freedom or liberty than my brother, because my brother is a bit introvert and I being so extrovert, so they had this thing कि चलो ये कर लेगी. And my brother, he don't used to enjoy so much of liberty. But the thing is, the society, or you talk about the institution, maybe the other blessing I am having is that I am placed as the Department of Political Science. Now, being at the Department of Political Science, शायद आप खुद भी उसके साथ you were like part of that. uh, nothing can be perfect. There can be some flaws also, but from that perspective, I have never seen that I am a female and then I am having other male counterparts. Usually when in interviews, I used to be a single female candidate and all male competing with them. And then result क्या होता था वो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह अलग बात है, but as a female and when you are grown in an atmosphere of political theory, having so much good faculty members, then as a student of political science you understand such things. Feminism, at least you understand, you give equal respect to all of them. So in my department I did not face any such thing, but in campus as a whole, as a female, you do have so many challenges. That's why while I was talking about these things, I was giving also examples of this. While coming to Anushka's point, that she said that there is a gap between theory and this practice. That is true, there is gap between theory and practice, but then we need some base, we need some idea on which we can like make certain things. You need to have a base for your home, for your house also. So feminism is not just like that. I'm again saying that there is a gap between theory and practice, but the thing is that at least feminism tells you that women needs to be empowered. Now how women needs to be, or it talks about that women are disadvantageous. Now how women are disadvantageous, that vary from culture to culture, and that vary from society to society. Now in rural societies you have the different problems, in urban societies you have the different problems. Fine. So being a female, uh, we all face different kind of problems. Like even if you are so much, your parents are so much emancipated, but in society ultimately you see if you walk with a boy twice or thrice, then you will be labeled that you are having something fishy with that boy. So, or boy is walking with you, that's not problem. Now as a female teacher, if I am good with my students, I would not be labeled as a good see, again I'm having an example. I'm having a very good friend, he's so much helping, he is so much like always available to his students, and nobody has ever labeled him like anything. But I used to tell him always, if at your place it would have been a female teacher, so it would always have been the other way, because the society would have seen her in a different way. Otherwise she's also having a position of power. But even if a female is having a position of power, she is not she is labeled as something or other thing. Now coming back what I was discussing about the gender and the sex. So sex, actually it's biological, you're born as a male or you're born as a female, so it's unalterable and there is nothing bad in it. But gender, it's something which is cultural, it's created. So it is related to masculinity, it is related to femininity. Fine. Because you're born as a girl child, that sex does not make you as, because you're born as a girl child, that makes you inferior. Now society is such that it has blurred the distinction between the sex and the, what we can say, the gender. The patriarchy has made it one and same thing, and the masculinity, see, mard ko dard nahi hota, what does it mean? Usually if you have seen if a man, he will cry, emotions सबके होते हैं, क्यों नहीं उसको दर्द होता है, क्या वो इंसान नहीं है? So he should not cry. क्यों? क्योंकि वो नहीं रोना चाहिए, क्योंकि वो उसका जो वो मैनहुड है वो उसके अगेंस्ट चला जाता है, इट गोज अगेंस्ट इट. फाइन. सो जो रोना है वो फीमेल को एट्रीब्यूट किया जाता है. सो masculinity, femininity, you know, these are related to gender. And feminists, they do not believe that there is something like a logical and something logical relationship between sex and gender. Sex, we are born as female, fine, you can be either born as male or female. Now gender, this is what makes us superior or inferior, and that is cultural, that is social creation. Now the last thing what I want to talk about is the equality and difference. There are feminists, those who believe that we have to be equal with that of men. Like you are having the liberal feminists, they talk about the females should be given equal social and political and legal rights. Fine. And then you are having the this socialist feminists, those who talk about the equality in income. Radical feminists, they talk about the equality at in domestic things at home, like the equality in childbearing. There should be, the women should have the control over his own body. She should have the control for her sexual and other fulfillments. Fine. But then there are different feminists, those who say that it's simply something that is mistaken. Why we have to be male identified, what men are doing, what men are like. And I believe on these things also. If we are women, we have womanhood, we should celebrate that. Fine. That makes you unique, and we don't need to be, womanhood makes us complete. We don't need to be like men identified. So they consider that there are certain things which are genetical, which are hormonal, which are related to men. Like they give the example competition, or what we can say, the harsh nature of the man. Fine. And women, she is creative, she's empathetic. And why she have to be the competitive, and why she have to be like that of men? So women, she should embrace the womanhood, she should come for the other women. So there should be the womanhood, sisterhood, and women is complete in herself. She don't need to be like a man. So this is what I believe also. Now we are having a new breed of men, like you, Mehraj, that they are no more male chauvinists, bigots. They also believe on like women equality. So we have now, that does not mean that women does not face inequality, women does not face oppression. We have different levels of oppression, we have different levels of what we can say, like discrimination, like in all fields. You were asking me about institution. Now I cannot say, for example, cannot highlight it, but as a female I can talk about so many kinds of oppression. You cannot go to the local bus, you cannot travel in local bus. Ask a female that when she's in an overcrowded bus, what happens at that time. Fine. You cannot walk alone if it's a bit dark. Fine. So how hard it is to be a human being. What's I was previously talking about, that I want to be I want to have the simple rights as men are having. So you go anywhere, you walk every time, you can eat anything. But women is being judged everywhere. Women is being looked for everything and labeled for everything. Like we cannot travel alone. There is no problem. I have always been traveling alone. I'm just talking about the local. If I have to go to university in a local bus, I have to travel and it's overcrowded. Ask a woman, ask a female that how much like harassment, I cannot say that what she's not facing. If it becomes hard, if she is more bold, then what are the comments she have to she face? If she is more shy, and again she has to face something. So there are oppressions in every walk of life, right from the family. Maybe our parents are not like that. We are very blessed to have the parents who consider us human beings like that of their sons. But then in the extended family, you cannot talk, you cannot have your opinion, you cannot talk about politics. They say that you don't know the politics, even if you are having a complete degree in politics. Now I'm not saying that I want to talk in politics. You cannot talk where men are talking. Fine, because that's not your sphere, that's not your realm. And again they say that women talks, women just have to gossip. We know nothing other than gossiping. We cannot talk sense. These things are actually, they are rooted in our society, in our families and everywhere. So women is being suppressed right from the beginning, right from the day she is born. Now maybe we are now I cannot say emancipated, a bit emancipated, and we want to give the space for our daughters or our sisters, that at least they understand, have the basic understanding. And anti-male is not feminism. Again, we do not want to be anti-men. So we want to be treated equally. Now, certain men, there are certain females who consider maybe feminism is just to be anti-men, talking trash about men, every time attacking men. I don't believe on that type of feminism. I believe that we are equal. We are now, again, not that equality, like I was discussing equality and difference. Female is like, one time once I was in my class, and there was a student. He said that a student is good in maths, and one student is good in science. That does not make one superior to another. So they both are having their own faculty of mind, or they are having their own this area of interest where they are good. So similarly, it's related to the male and the female. So one could excel in one field, another could excel in another field. That does not make me any less human being than you. So please, females are as equally human beings as that of men. That's my point. So I think
It
maybe
has
the.
it has been
Thank you.
seriously a very wonderful analysis and explanation that I have come across when it comes to academic and theoretical perspective of feminism.
Thank you.
I will go back to Anushka for the last thing, that when she talks about the civilizational approach to address the women issue. See, at the policy level, at the government level, no matter whosoever is in the government, there is an acknowledgement that women empowerment is a critical link in order to have a country that's so holistic, that's so inclusive, and that's so gender equal, we can say. What are the things that India as a country or the government that we have is doing in order to, I mean, if we say, if we put it into the points, that what are the important things that are needed in order to actually negotiate and improvise upon what has been done, and what is there a glimmer of hope that we can see, that say for example 10 years down the line, when we'll be looking back at the journey that from this point, will it be so good to actually look back and say that okay, it has been done, this has been done? Otherwise, I seriously consider that at the policy level there is an acknowledgement now that there's a difference, that I can have an understanding of the theoretical aspect of feminism. Everybody has an understanding of the theoretical feminism. It somewhere down the line does have the issues when it comes to the realistic part of it. So Anushka, you will just let us know and make us understand that what are the things that India has been doing again, and what are the things that need to be done in order to improvise upon what has been done.
Thank you so much for the question, Mehraj. So I will begin with this thing that I said earlier, that a civilizational approach to women empowerment. So when I say the civilizational approach to women empowerment, what exactly it means? It basically means that we are trying to strive towards an egalitarian society where all genders are equal, where we don't see women empowerment as a war against men, which is the most important point, that feminism and women empowerment is not a gender war. It's an approach that we as men, women, or other genders have to take collectively to have a society that is just and open for everybody. And this is single most important aspect for economic development of a country. We develop when women equally take part in the development process and in the workforce, in the political life, in the economic life, in the social life, even in the cultural life. So this is why women empowerment that is based on let's say a unified approach of men and women. That is the only single recipe that can successfully go to realizing the goal of feminism and of gender equality and women empowerment. So when it comes to the civilizational uh, aspect to it, which is also the focus of the government, so they think that if we try to make family as a unit, that gives women the space to pursue her dreams, to be herself, to step in the workforce. I think this is one way where we make the path easier for her. Like if we go back to our times, I'm sure that in the Indian history we have several examples of women who have chosen to have an have an individual life towards their goal. But I think as a third world country, we also have this understanding that if we evolve the family system itself, like Professor Hassan said, that family is one area from where patriarchy begins. But if we at the policy level target evolving the family structure, that gives space to women to participate in the political life or in the work life or in the affairs of the country or in development, she can be one unit that keeps family together as well as develops the country. And because men and other gender and even the females in the family understand that she has obligations outside of the home as well, it is one way through which we can ensure that women empowerment is actually happening. But that again is requires a lot of policies, a lot of policy interventions. First of all, I think that public and private sector should collectively focus on women empowerment. We have to work on several levels. Like if we talk about the rural level, we have to first educate women that why it is important for them to have basic education, as simple as that. And when we talk about women maybe on the urban level, they also have issues, they also have problems, they are also discriminated, but they have different issues, that they are not able to maybe balance their family, maybe they are not given enough freedom to pursue their path, maybe even if they are educated, maybe they are always dictated that you should choose a certain kind of career. Like for an example, I met a friend yesterday, so she was telling me that she wants to be a fitness freak. She wants to make a career in health and fitness, and she wants to basically contribute to teaching women that how they can take care of their body. But that is not seen as a good career path for a woman. Because if you would go to gyms across India, you would find so many males training you, but it's very hard to find a female training you. So I think that we have to focus on how we can spread awareness. And social media and media campaigning is very important for that thing. Like our government launched the Beti Bachao and Beti Padhao. So why it has been a success? Because it has connected with the connected with people. It has at least build the narrative that we need to save our girl child and we need to focus on their education. We need to motivate them that they should be independent, that they should not be seen as a burden, which is the first thing. In a world which is increasingly connected through social media and media, I think that it is very important to use the information awareness about gender equality and women empowerment. And that has to be done on several levels, either by the government or by civil societies, NGOs, educational institutions. So all of them collectively have to push towards the gender equality. Only then we can realize it. And uh, and I feel that when civil societies and NGOs work on these issues, maybe their capacity is limited because of the geography in which they operate. But government as a whole has much more capacity. And if the government supports NGOs and civil societies, and if they collectively work, then we have more capacity to work on the ground, which alone we cannot do. So these are some of the approaches that need to be taken to ensure that our women are getting at least the basic education, that our family system is evolving. It is not becoming a gender war, but it is evolving with our times. Because across the world, we are talking about gender equality. Across the world, women are participating in even those areas where you couldn't have imagined women, 10 to 20 years before. But this needs a continuous push, and this does not needs to be seen as a gender war, which is the most important thing. And this is where I come back to from where I started, the civilizational aspect of women empowerment, that we evolve family system to make it the place from where women empowerment starts, instead of how it has remained this beginning point of patriarchy. So this is how we can maybe realize our idea and our vision for India, because we really are working on it. Our diplomats are going, to the forums. They are speaking for our country's interests. So definitely there should be more women in the, even in politics and national security, foreign policy. But that requires a lot of effort, and it's a gradual process. And we need to realize the fact that because of the several rivalries that are happening on the global level, whether you talk about the example of Afghanistan, whether you talk about many other countries in Africa, so gender is a real problem, because the ultimate bearer of conflict is the woman. And I would tell you that India from time and again has voiced, even not just our diplomats, but so many NGOs and foreign policy researchers have voiced their support for what is happening with women in Afghanistan. Like, people have been trying to help them in any ways that they can, but this has to go on, and this has to go beyond the power rivalry that we see, whether on the global level between countries, whether in our political or personal lives between gender, or between among the hierarchy. So it has to go beyond that. And I think, if someone asks me, I would end that it has to have a civilizational aspect, and it has to be a partnership of public and private sector in the country. Only then it is possible to have the realization of the vision of women empowerment.